The first thing I try to do when getting on the lathe is remember to take off my ring. The chuck turning at several thousand RPM will do nasty things to your finger. I always wear a dust mask. Always wear a full face shield. In addition, I always wear hearing protection of some kind. To get started, we will find centers on the ends of a piece of hard maple about 2 inches square and 5 to 6 inches long. To aid in the placement of the wood on the lathe between centers, I use a center punch and a wooden mallet to make a center hole in both ends of the wood. I like to use a crown drive in the drive center, and I also like the cup tailstock live center. The cup gives you a little more pressure on the wood while turning. When using carbide tools, you need the tool rest set so when the tool is on the rest, the tip of the blade will be on the center. Always turn the stock on the lathe after you put the tool rest on to make sure that the stock is not hitting your tool rest. With carbide tools, the height of the rest will depend on the size of the tool that you're using. I like to use a larger 1/2 inch R2 radius carbide tip to turn the stock into a cylinder. As you can see, the tip is not square. There is a slight curve to the blade. On the smaller stock, I like to run the lathe at between 12 and 1800 RPM. While removing wood from the cylinder, keep the tool flat on the tool rest. The video is running at 5 times normal speed, but you can see that using the radius tip, it allows you to take off a lot of wood in a short period of time. Carbide tools are considered scrapers, so to get your surface a bit smoother, angle the tip and it will work as more of a cutting tool. Now, using a smaller square carbide tip, I will make a tenon on both ends of my cylinder. I will now remove my crown drive center and replace it with a smaller 4-jaw chuck. By using a live center and a tailstock, it helps me to center the cylinder into the 4-jaw chuck and helps apply pressure. After making sure the cylinder is good and tight in the 4-jaw chuck, I replace the live center on the tailstock with a Jacob's chuck and a 7/8 inch Forstner bit. With the lathe speed at around 400 to 600 RPM, I bore a hole in the end of the cylinder about an inch or so deep. And to help stabilize the turning, I replace a Jacob's chuck with a cone live center. Don't forget to shut the lathe off while adjusting the tool rest. Now, using a small radius carbide bit, I begin to shape the body of the angel. Switching to the detail or squashed diamond carbide bit, I begin to rough out the arms, the head, and the halo. I try to make the top of the torso and the base of the head about the same diameter. just sort of eyeball the size of the head to make sure it's in comparison with the torso. Before I take the angel off the lathe, I start sanding the body of the torso using 60 grit sandpaper on up to 400 grit. Be sure to remove the pointed live cone center when it's not in use. It doesn't like elbows. Using the small round carbide tip, I enlarge the hole in the base somewhat and round out the bottom of it. Now, using small pieces of the Abernet sandpaper on the tip of my orbital sander, I can make things quite smooth quite a lot faster. This is the reason I left the tenon on the bottom of the angel. I can reverse it in the chuck and then using the tailstock center it so that I have no wobble when I start turning. And then be sure and tighten up the chuck very tight. Using the detailing tip, I start to finish off the head and the halo. I should have stayed with the detailer. Watch what happens in a few seconds. Oh, fudge. Now I have a design change that I wasn't expecting. Okay, back to the round carbide bit. And we sand everything all through the grits again. Now I clean everything with a little bit of denatured alcohol. After being in the medical field for 48 years, I still cover things with a blue towel. You don't have to wait too long for the denatured alcohol to dry. I then apply a liberal coat of shine juice, or 1/3 shellac, 1/3 denatured alcohol, and 1/3 boiled linseed oil. I turn the lathe speed up to about 3,000 RPM and then bear down and put several more coats of sign juice on the angel. This is how I finish the bottom of the angel. I remove the 4-jaw chuck. And since the faceplate on my homemade disc sander was smaller than on my lathe, I need to put an adapter on there, so I do so. I then put my homemade sanding disc on the lathe. I don't know if any of you ever remember wearing the old crepe-soled shoes. Well, this is the stuff they used to make those crepe soles out of. I use it to clean off the sandpaper, all the gunk out of the sandpaper. I then sand the tenon off the base of the angel. When finished sanding the base, I put my name on the bottom and apply some more shine juice to cover the bottom of the angel. To finish things off, I usually sand a small portion of the top of the head flat and the bottom of the halo flat, but since I don't have a halo, I left that part out. This time I just sand off the front of the ring where the arms are to make it look as though she's holding something. Of course, another quick application of shine juice over the bare wood, and we end up with an angel without a halo.